Hello everybody, me again, Papa John. I've decided to change the name of the channel. I was going to call it Bits and Bytes, but sounded a bit lame. Papa John is my known name to my granddaughter, and it seems to fit, so I'll stick with that. But anyway, today's subject, or certainly for this episode, is why should you buy Bitcoin? And I'm not here to sell it to you or give you financial advice, just help you consider why, if you should jump into Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. I'll go back to one of the reasons that I decided to get into Bitcoin. I can remember back in the day when I was at school, there was one computer in the school. Shows how old I am. And I thought it was really nerdy. I had to look at it, and the guys were, well, look, you can change the colour of the screen and you can make this do that and such like. I'm off down the gym, I'm away to play basketball. It wasn't really nerdy. Not dumb, but didn't pique my interest. So I regret not getting into computers. I think having programming skills and such like will be invaluable going forward. It's pretty invaluable at the moment, but going to get more and more so. And the second time I missed something was the internet. I wish I'd managed to get into that in some way, shape or form, but I was still in the armed forces at the time, and it wasn't really on my radar, forgive the pun. However, I did coincidentally probably get involved in one of the first ever email systems. I was out in Germany working in the headquarters, and I had this big clunky computer sat on the desk, black screen, green flashing cursor and font types, etc. And we used that to communicate with other units around the world. So, and that was 1984, 1985. So it was probably something to do with the DARPA or Tim Berners-Lee and all that. So I've been involved with computers since 1984, 1985, which 30 odd years really. But I never really got involved in any career sense with computers and the internet until I was self-employed and needed to use it for communication and accounting and such like, and had my first AOL account. Again, shows how old I am. Still have that AOL account, but I missed that boat or that train as well. When I came across Bitcoin, I thought, twice bitten, three shy. I'm not going to miss this opportunity because I can see it's probably even bigger than the previous two, and I don't think you guys should either. If you're at all inclined or interested or curious about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, go for it. Not financial advice, but you may regret it. In fact, I'm pretty certain you will regret it. So that's the first big one. It's not fear of missing out, but accepting the inevitable and trying to get ahead of the drag curve for a change. They reckon that maybe 2 or 3% of the global population is involved in cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin to one extent or another. Just think what it would be like when even half the world population are involved in it. It's going to be huge, absolutely massive. Get involved in it. Be one of the front runners, early adopters, because we're still early, very early in the life cycle of cryptocurrencies. I don't even know if it'll be a cycle, it's just here to stay. Bitcoin cannot be uninvented. It can't be shut down. It's one of those things that now it exists, it will exist forever. in one way, shape or form. So that's the first reason. And the second is really, if you're at all interested in securing your financial well-being for the future, again, you need to be in Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. We're in a digital economy already, like it or not. A very high percentage of any transactions are done digitally. You got your contactless credit and debit cards these days. How many times will you go out in a day, spend money without actually exchanging cash? The traditionalists in us will rue that. Think, well, I like to use cash. I think back to my parents' days when they saw the credit cards in the 50s and 60s they first came out. They probably thought, well, what is this strange technology or whatever. Then when it went to online banking, that was a big one for me. I mean, I've been online banking for 20 odd years now, and I think it's great. You see all the bank branches closing down. I think it doesn't quite feel right, but you understand why it's happening. Even more and more so now. I think it's less about the economics of banking and the profitability of the branches, and I think it's more part of the bigger plan strategy to go to digital currencies, central bank digital currencies. That's a huge topic in itself, and I'll save that for another day, but I don't see it as a good development. I think it's a natural development, but I think humanity would be better served by sticking with Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. And you might ask why. Bitcoin gives you the freedom to do with your money what you want. You can own it, you can manage it, you can spend it wherever you want, where it's available to be spent. Again, that'll develop and improve. And there's all the different cryptocurrencies around Bitcoin that we'll be able to use and which we can use at the moment. When central bank digital currencies come in, there's a very strong risk that you'll be manipulated by the government controlling the digital currencies. And you may think that's a bit of a conspiracy theory, but think of it in a simple way. Governments are led by one party or another. Some nefarious politician may decide, well, if you voted for the opposition in the last election, maybe you should have less access to your central bank digital currency, you know, flick a switch here or there. Okay, and that's just the thin end of the wedge. It's a form of social manipulation. Chinese are heavily into it already. Their social scores over there and the digital yuan, and I think it's the thin end of the wedge, and it's not obvious to many people, if any, how bad it could get. I'm sure there'll be benefits to it, but they don't outweigh the disadvantages and the risks. So Bitcoin gives its owner the freedom of choice to do what they want, spend what they want, be what they want. So there's that. There's also the financial aspect. Bitcoin is designed mathematically in the software, the programming, to be deflationary in that the supply is limited. There will only ever be 21 million Bitcoins produced. We're about 18.5 million into that plan, and every 4 years there's what's called the halving, where the amount of Bitcoin released into the market is halved. I think it's about 6 Bitcoin an hour at the moment. I might be wrong there, but the last halving was May last year, I believe. And that's partially what creates the cycles, the booms and the busts and the bull runs and the bear cycles. It's the programming that Satoshi Nakamoto put into the software, and it's unique and it's genius. But what that means, supply and demand, there'll be fewer and fewer bitcoins available. I heard somebody say last night there's 23 million millionaires in the world, which means there won't be enough bitcoin for each millionaire to have one. Okay, so if you're in a position to get even half of one at the moment, you'll be ahead of a lot of millionaires. Be a front runner. Just imagine how the value of bitcoin will be affected as they become more and more scarce. In the 18.5 million that have been produced, some say that up to 4 million have been lost or unavailable. The creator of Bitcoin is known to have at least 1 million on his wallet, because these things are obvious or visible in the blockchain. If you're so inclined, you can go and look at the blockchain and identify different wallets and how old they are and how long they've had the Bitcoin in there. So that takes 1 million out, and then through user error and such like, maybe 2 or 3 million more have been taken out of circulation. There's a story of a chap in Wales in the UK who had a rather large number of Bitcoin on his laptop, which somehow got disposed of in the council tip. He's actually offered a bounty to the council and or anybody to go and find his laptop in the tip, because it's obviously worth millions and millions. But there's an example of how somebody's lost their Bitcoin. It's easy to do, but easy to protect yourself. And again, I can talk about security, etc. in another video. But going back to the financials, Bitcoin is only ever going to, in the long run, increase in value due to supply and demand. And people say, well, what makes Bitcoin valuable? And that's pretty much the crux of it. There's lots of other reasons around that, and again, subject for another day. But certainly, if you want to get in early before it gets harder and harder to buy Bitcoin, supply and demand pretty much dictates the value of an asset ultimately. This way, Kaiser, come on. Sorry, still walking the dogs. Different coat, hat, and weather. It's a lot frost here today. Hard frost, starting to melt a bit. But anyway, back to the point. Why should you buy or get into Bitcoin and cryptocurrency? Get ahead of the curve. Don't miss out. Take freedom seriously. Secure your financial future. And don't have the regret in a year or two when the price is at, I don't know, 100,000, 200,000, whatever per Bitcoin, when you could have bought it today at 39,000, I think it dropped to overnight. I regret not having bought more of them when I was first looking at the market when it was at 3,000. But hindsight is a wonderful thing, unless it's a regret. I wish I'd bought Bitcoin. Whatever you do, don't buy a pizza with it. There's a story of the guy who in the early days paid 10,000 Bitcoin for pizza. Bloody expensive pizza. So rather ironic that I'm calling my channel Papa John crypto. Life's full of ironies. Everybody gets in Bitcoin. If you don't, you'll regret it. Anyway, hope you've enjoyed this. Thanks for sticking with me to the end. Press on the like button if you've enjoyed it, and dislike it if you wish. And if you really enjoyed it, subscribe to the channel and click on the notification button so you get to hear about more videos that I do. I aim to do quite a few of these, hopefully, as long as they're popular and people get things from them. If you've got any questions or suggestions, feel free to put a comment. I'd love to have some feedback. What's good, what's bad, what you want to know, what you couldn't care less about. Okay, so that's it for now. Bit of a long one. Oh, it's 3 times what I've done previously. Okay, what a ramble. Okay, I'll catch you later. Have a good day. Bye.